Hey everybody, Mr. Wagner here. I have in front of me Breakout 7, and we are going to go ahead and make this Breakout 8. I'm going to run it. And you see that we have our nice little breakout game. Okay, now first off, recognize I am now running this software in PyCharm. I like PyCharm quite a bit more because it does a lot of more fill-in stuff, and it'll make coding a lot easier for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing I want to do is just a touch of refactoring, get rid of some of the old code as I was explaining things. So print time awesome, you're going away, that's gone. I'm going to scroll down. I think there's a place down here where we tried the print time awesome. Yeah, 49, 47, 48. So we're going to get rid of that. And right here, see where it says print length of bricks. We don't really need that. Okay, so that just cleaned up a couple things. That should be really quick. You guys can figure that out pretty quickly. Okay. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a very important concept, and this is the concept of objects in computer programming, okay? Now, I want you to think about, you have this computer in front of you, and that's kind of like this digital virtual world, but what we need to do is we need to represent things that are in our world inside a computer such that we can then manipulate it and make the game better, okay? Now, case in point, imagine I was creating something that was about, say, like an ink pen. Well, I could create an object in a computer that would define all the attributes of an ink pen, okay? So like, for instance, here's an ink pen. This is a highlighter, which is a particular type of ink pen, and it's green. Well, this is a pen also. This is a red pen, and it is a ballpoint pen. Okay, so suddenly I could create an object called a pen, and the pen could have a color, and it could also have a type, whether it's a highlighter or an ink pen. And I'm sure you could come up with all kinds of different things. You know, you could have a calligraphy pen, you could have a blue pen, you could have a, you know, all sorts of different things. Okay, so that's kind of where we're going with this. Now, in Breakout, we are going to be making bricks, okay? That's part of Breakout, is we're going to be making bricks. So we really need to create an object to define a brick, because that'll make our lives a lot easier. Okay, so to do that, to create an object, there's a command called class brick. Okay, just like that. So we've created a brick called brick, and it's capitalized, okay? Class brick, and we're going to write a little bit about it. Okay, so we're going to say this class defines a brick. And we're going to say the attributes for the brick are as follows. Okay. Before we do that, notice how if I keep putting pound signs there, that's going to get really annoying very quickly. There's actually a command to do a multiple line comments, and that's 3, what do you call those, apostrophes. And then you put all your comments, and then we put 3 more apostrophes down here, and that makes one big long commenty thing. Okay. So the attributes for the brick are, and we are going to have rect, which is our rectangle. Okay. Gee whiz. R-E-C-T-A-N-G-L-E. This is a G-E-L. No. Never was a good speller. That's probably why I went into computers. Okay, we're gonna have color. And color is gonna be the color of the brick, okay? And then maybe points. Okay, so how many points the brick is worth. Okay, so that's our brick, right? Okay, and we can have as many attributes as we want. Let's just start with those because that's an easy place to start. Okay, so when you define an object, we already talked about you have to have attributes for that object. Okay, those are different properties of the object. In fact, you know, sometimes in different software you'll right-click on something, you'll go to properties. Well, those are all object properties. So just the same, our brick has those three object properties. Programmers tend to call them attributes, but you can call them whatever you want. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we are going to define a special function called a constructor. Okay, and the constructor makes the object. Okay, and the way that the constructor looks like is def underscore underscore init, like initialize, underscore underscore. Okay, and notice how when I hit return, it filled all this stuff in. So this is our constructor. By, I don't know, what would you say, convention, people put self right there, and we'll see where self comes in. But we need to put our attributes after that. So we're going to put rect, we're going to put color, and we are going to put points. Okay, so those are our three things, our three attributes. And in here, we have basically passed rectangle, color, and points into the constructor, okay? But we need to tell the class that those parameters that get passed through become those attributes. So we do this, we type in self.rect equals rect, self.color equals color, and self.points equals points. Okay, so that creates an object. Now, just a little note, if you are a Java programmer, they do things differently in Java. If you are coding real professionally, you know, things you might see are a little bit different. They may say self underscore points equals that, you know. But remember that I'm teaching you how to write these games, and I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. So I recognize that you might find reasons to say, well, that's not really the way you do it, because there are perhaps better ways to do it, but I want to keep it as clear and concise as possible. Got it? Good. Okay, and we're going to create another function, and we are going to call this one def, and we're going to say underscore underscore str underscore underscore, and we're going to put it there, and we are going to type in return f quote, and then we're going to say brick colon, in here we are going to say self dot rectangle. See how nicely all this fills in? Notice how when I hit the curly bracket, it automatically filled in a second curly bracket. Color, self, dot, points. Okay. So let me talk about this for a second. This underscore underscore str, basically allows us to have a human readable version of what that brick instance is referring to, okay? And it's what this function is doing is it's returning a formatted string. That's what the F and then the quotes are. We're formatting this string, and that string is going to be brick, colon, and then it's going to say whatever the rectangle is, it's going to say whatever the color is, it's going to say whatever the points are, okay? So basically we've defined this brick as having 3 attributes and a way to print out the attributes in a pretty way. If you are familiar with Java, this underscore underscore str underscore underscore is the same thing as like toString, okay? By the way, this double underscore, Python people call that a dunder. They call them dunder functions because they're double underscore. And there's a number, they're like these specialized functions that are for Python. But anyway, double underscore init, double underscore str. Now we basically have something that we can work with. So, so let's go ahead and play around with our brick a little bit, okay? I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna type in my brick 1 equals a brick, and we are going to fill this in. Now notice how it automatically tells us we need to fill in a rectangle, a color, and points, okay? And we can do that very nicely. I'm gonna do the double parentheses, because remember, our rectangle was a tuple with an XY width height. So let's just say 10, comma 10, comma 20, comma 15. So there's our brick, or there's our rectangle. We're gonna give it a color, green, and we're gonna give it our points, which is 100 points, okay? And now we'll create another brick called my brick 2. And we're gonna say that is a brick. And we're gonna put that brick at 100, comma 50. And let's say it's 50 things long and only 5 things high. So it's a wide, tall, a short brick. Okay, and we're gonna make that one red. And we're gonna say that's worth 37 points. Nice prime number. Okay. Now let's just try really quickly printing a couple of these my bricks. So let's do a print my brick. See, notice how it automatically fills it in. So we're gonna print my brick 1, and we're gonna do a print my brick 2. Okay, so now we're gonna print 2 bricks. I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna go to run, and see down here below, it's printed out the first brick, green, and then 100, and then the second brick, red, and then 37. So it's printed those out nicely, okay? Now, that's all fine and dandy, but you know, we're gonna need to get that rectangle out of that brick object. We're gonna need to get that color out of that brick object. And let me show you how that's done. And that's really clever, and you'll find that very nice and easy. Let's do a print, say my brick 1. And after this, I'm gonna put a dot, and notice right up here, we have the color, rectangle, and point. So I'm just gonna choose the color. So if I run this, it tells me that my brick 1 is that green brick, see? It's that green brick. So I close that. And let's say I wanna get my brick 1's rectangle. Then I could print that, run, and it printed that 100, 100, 20, 15, right? And I could even print the number of points too. Say, let's print MyBrick2's points. Okay, so there's the points for MyBrick2. We're gonna hit run. Okay, and it printed 37. So see how that works? So basically we have designed a way to represent that brick in the computer world with multiple properties or attributes that we can then reference, okay? All right, I'm at about 15 minutes, so I'm gonna stop us right there, and then we're gonna continue on with Breakout 9. All right, see you all later.